As my 18th birthday approached, a whirlwind of excitement and dread churned in my chest. I had never been a huge birthday person, but this year everything felt heightened. The thrill of gaining freedom, of stepping into adulthood, should have filled me with joy, yet the silence of my family echoed loudly wherever I turned. My family, a small constellation scattered dimly across the map of America, felt more like shadows than nurturers. 4 aunts and uncles, each a stranger wrapped in obligatory gift exchanges. I had seen many birthdays come and go, each one feeling like a mirror held up to my family, a collection of distant faces, known only through cards and the gifts pulled from some antiquated catalog of forgotten ideas. Each present felt like a hollow echo, wrapped in shiny paper but devoid of meaning. I remembered the strange bathing products, the generic desk-oriented gadgets, and the knickknacks that constantly cluttered my room. Kept but never cherished. As the weeks ticked down, an idea began to bloom in my mind. Maybe this year I could twist the familiar spiral into something fresh. I determined I needed to break the cycle of shallow connections that felt more like an obligation than a true celebration. I scribbled down my wishes, meticulously crafting a small, meaningful list of presents that would reflect my personality and interests. And the very top of this list screamed for a hoodie, the beautiful piece I had been meaning to buy myself for months, soft and cozy, an embrace of warmth and style that fit me perfectly. I can still remember the way I felt, preparing to share my vision with my mother. I had rehearsed my words, picturing her face lighting up with understanding, instead of the usual confusion or indifference. The evening brought a golden hue to the dim living room, the scent of my mother's simmering lavender tea wafting through the air, creating an inviting atmosphere. But when I approached, my excitement lit up my face like a candle flickering in the wind. "Mom, can we talk for a second?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper yet bursting with enthusiasm. Her head turned from her book, eyebrows raised. "What is it, sweetie?" With a deep inhale, I carefully laid my hopes at her feet. For my birthday, I was thinking maybe if the relatives could pitch in $10 each, I could get this amazing hoodie I've wanted. It would be something special for me. In that moment, the air shifted. I could feel it, a sudden chill creeping in as if I had announced that I planned to swim with sharks. Her expression morphed from mild curiosity into pure disbelief. "How could you be so greedy?" she thundered, her voice a bolt of lightning that struck hard and deep. The weight of her words struck me like a heavy blow. I could feel my heart pounding against my rib cage, igniting a storm of internal conflict within my chest. "Greedy? Mom, it's just a hoodie. It's something I genuinely want." Her eyes flared with indignation, the flare revealing all the shallow expectations and traditions that had governed our family interactions for so long. "That's not how our family works, Lily," she snapped, the disapproval cracking like thunder across the gulf of misunderstandings that had come to define our relationship. I felt trapped, caught in a tangled web of family dynamics. I tried to explain how meaningless the gifts felt, how they cluttered my space but held none of my desires. "Mom, it's not about greed. It's about wanting real things that I connect with. Every year it feels like I am just opening more stuff I don't want or need, items that feel like a burden instead of a gift. Wouldn't pooling the money make it easier for everyone? That way our family members wouldn't feel obligated and I'd actually get something I love. You cannot just demand gifts based on your interests. What kind of lesson does that send?" she retorted, her voice sharp with conviction as she stood rooted in her beliefs. She crossed her arms, holding onto her points like a fortress, woven from an idea of familial decorum that felt more suffocating than supportive. For every ounce of passion bubbling within me, I could see the growing distance. A divide that became painfully evident after years of watching my heart collide with the walls she had constructed. I was a child from this vibrant world of Gen Z, deeply rooted in a desire for authenticity. But there she stood, a millennial mother who wished to uphold archaic boundaries of communication, and tension brewed in the air, thick and heavy. The tension spiked further when she invoked my late grandfather's philosophy, those solemn words hanging between us like a ghost demanding compliance. "Lily, remember what Grandpa used to say about family and how we value our bonds. These traditions matter." Grandpa's words were about connection, not conformity. I shot back, my voice trembling slightly but unwavering. "I just want to be seen for who I really am." Her eyes narrowed, disappointment clouding them. I could see the shadows of expectations dancing behind her gaze, complicated emotions swirling beneath the surface. "You think you're the only one who feels unseen. Your family is trying to show their love in a way that may not align with your expectations, but that doesn't make it wrong." In that moment, I felt my world crashing down. Every hope I held for this birthday, for this family connection I longed to cultivate, felt marred and blurred. I was standing on unstable ground, looking for acceptance, yet pushed back into the darkness of isolation. "Mom," I whispered, desperation flooding my words, I just want to share my life with you guys to feel understood. Instead, it feels like I'm being punished for wanting something real." She sighed, rubbing her temples as if pained by the clash of our generational values. "Lily, these things don't always come wrapped in shiny packages. Gifts aren't about the items, it's about the intent." My heart sank. But the intent feels lost in tradition. I pleaded, my voice rising as anger ignited, a fire that I could sense simmering deep within me. "These traditions feel more like chains than connections." But it did little to ease her stance. "I can't believe you don't see the bigger picture," she exclaimed, her exasperation bubbling over. "You're being selfish by not appreciating what you have. Gifts should come from the heart, not a wish list." Staring into the swirling vortex of her emotions, I wanted to scream that it shouldn't be this way. I should have felt free to communicate my wants without the fear of judgment. But instead, I felt trapped, merely a child longing for acknowledgement in a world built on silence. At that moment, something inside of me hardened, a fierce clarity that settled in my bones. "Maybe it's time for a new tradition," I whispered, determination igniting within me. What if there was a way to break past her staunch beliefs? They might not recognize my hopes and desires, but they would come to realize the consequence of underestimating me. I could hear her breath catch, a momentary pause where understanding flickered between us. But it dimmed just as quickly as it appeared. "You're being unreasonable," she replied, finally turning her gaze away, moving back to the kitchen counter where a tray of unfinished cookies lay. "Fine," I said, turning sharply on my heel. Even though anger boiled in my veins, I felt a sprinkle of resolve weave its way into my spirit, like a shield against disappointment. "You want to ignore my thoughts? Fine, I will find my own way to make this birthday special. We'll see who's being unreasonable in the end." With that decision cast like a stone into still waters, I stormed away, leaving her in her thoughts, a vision of disbelief searching for words that no longer held weight. It was as if an invisible barrier had been erected, one that I had built to protect my fragile heart. But with my spirit ignited, I was no longer just a child aiming for approval. I was determined to forge my path, to rise from the ashes of their misunderstanding, and create a portrait of my own desires. An intricate tapestry of authenticity woven outside the boundaries of traditional love. For weeks, I concocted an intricate plan, one that would not only reclaim my voice, but also reveal the truths buried beneath my family's veneer of togetherness. My heart swelled with a mix of anticipation and trepidation, because the time had come to put my plan into action. I had crafted a mask of enthusiasm, reaching out to my aunts and uncles under the guise of a typical birthday celebration. With careful wording, I spun a web of excitement that suggested I had lost interest in physical gifts. "Just the presence of family is all I need," I encouraged them, each text and call laced with an eagerness that masked my true intentions. Instead of the usual offerings of toys and trinkets, I urged them to consider creating experiences, sharing stories and memories that only seem to exist in the whispers of time, lingering in the air with unspilled gravity. As I collected their commitments to join me, I could almost feel the dam beginning to break. "Why not share your favorite memories from childhood?" I prompted during dinners, family gatherings, and in passing conversations. "The stories that make us who we are. All those moments that shaped our lives." My words danced in the air, enticing and galvanizing them. I painted a vivid picture of joy and nostalgia, urging them to delve into their pasts, unearthing buried sentiments that were long forgot. "I am so eager to hear your tales," I would say, feigning a sparkle in my eyes. Gradually, like a river thawing in early spring, they opened up. "I remember the time when your mother hid my favorite dress," my aunt decreed with a laugh that carried an undertone of bitterness. "I had not seen it for weeks until I accidentally found it in your grandmother's attic. She thought it was a lovely way to get back at me after I borrowed her purple lipstick without asking." The laughter that bubbled from her lips sent warmth through me, but beneath that laughter I felt the rattle of unresolved grievances. These childhood grievances, woven with sibling rivalries and petty slights, tumbled forth like autumn leaves caught in a wild wind. I hung onto every detail, collecting them like shimmering treasures, each revealing further splinters lodged into our family ties. During another evening, my uncle's face grew serious as he spoke softly, almost hesitantly. "Your grandfather always had high expectations," he began, his eyes wandering as if searching for something lost in the ether. "He pushed us hard, too hard. Sometimes he made us feel like we were never good enough." His truth struck me deeply, a raw honesty that seemed to alter the very fabric of our family's narrative. More than just memories, they were pieces of our history etched in pain. I could almost hear the rush of water as secrets poured forth like rain after a long drought, and I listened raptly, fascinated by the stories unfurling before me. Each tale felt like a stone dropped into a pond, sending ripples of vulnerability across the once still waters of our familial relationships. each one a piece of the puzzle that illustrated our collective struggles. The more they shared, the more glaringly obvious it became that these untold stories were the dust that had settled upon our family ties over the years, rotting what could have been a flourishing connection. They masked their pain as best as they could, but the cracks began to show, and I took careful note, imagining how I could weave this fabric of truths into the tapestry of my birthday celebration. With every story gathered, I felt more empowered and less like a shadow lurking in their shadows. I was drawing the curtains on their carefully constructed personas, and the anticipation that bubbled within me was rich and intoxicating. As the day of my birthday drew closer, I compiled the stories, annotating my thoughts and feelings about each one, the ink swirling on the pages serving as a testament to our collective journey. I organized the event with meticulous care, envisioning a gathering where the hidden wounds could be exposed and the truths could flow as freely as the laughter. I could almost hear the echoes of their voices as they ventured into vulnerable territories, laying bare their sorrows and joys. When the sun dipped low and cast a soft golden hue across the room, the atmosphere crackled with a mix of excitement and dread. My family filtered in that evening, each one gripping their obligatory gifts, forgot tokens meant to comply with the expectations that had so long defined our familial interactions. I tried to catch their eyes, gauging their emotions, but they were blinded by the familiar bright lights and cheerful decorations. Laughter filled the space, joyous and effervescent, but little did they know that their cheerful front was about to be shattered by the truth. "Happy birthday," they cheered, and in that moment the room erupted into applause. Their voices were bright, the enthusiasm palpable, but I felt a quiet storm brewing within me. I could hear my heart pounding, each beat echoing the weight of what I was about to reveal. Trust surged through my veins, a protective armor, shielding me against the tidal wave of potential backlash. I could see my mother clapping, her smile painted over the layers of her well-practiced mask, oblivious to the impending storm. My aunts and uncles crowded the edges of the room, their laughter mingling with the scent of the cake baking in the oven, sweet and inviting, but somehow deceiving. I seized the moment, leaning forward, my voice firm but trembling with emotion. "Thank you everyone for coming tonight," I began, the words spilling from my lips like droplets of rain beginning to fall on parched earth. The room stilled, a collective hush wrapping itself around us, a pause before the thunder. "You have filled this space with such joy, but tonight I want to share something much deeper than cake and candles." Surprised looks flickered in their eyes, moments where joy battled confusion. My father raised an eyebrow, shifting his weight as if preparing for an unexpected turn in the narrative. My heart raced, each word feeling monumental, each syllable weighted with truth. "I've heard so many of your stories over the past weeks, tales that bind us together, and yet they have unearthed things I never knew." I ventured into deeper waters, revealing the beauty of our family's history while carefully highlighting those unhealed rifts. "Your struggles, your joys, your pain, it all resonates with me, and I believe that we can move beyond the surface-level interactions we've grown accustomed to." I continued, watching their expressions shift from joy to something deeper, contemplative, as emotions played across their faces. "So tonight, I don't just want gifts, I want the gifts of your truth." I paused, taking a breath that seemed to hang in the air like the weight of a thunderstorm. "Let us break down the walls between us." Silence wrapped around us before my uncle broke in, his voice shaky. "Lily, we never talked about those things." He fidgeted with the collar of his shirt. "What if we don't want to dig up the past? What if it just hurts too much?" "I believe that it hurts more to keep it buried," I countered gently, my heart racing yet steady. "Can't we honor each other's experiences? The truth does not have to tear us apart, it can bring us together if we let it." My aunt exchanged glances with my uncle, uncertainty written in the soft wrinkles on her forehead. "You really think we can talk about those things without falling apart?" "It will hurt, yes," I admitted, my resolve solid. "But it can also bring healing. I am willing to listen. I want to hear each of you, your losses, your victories, your truths." I gestured widely, encompassing the air around us. "Tonight is not just about me, it's about us." As I gazed into their eyes, light and shrouded fear mingling within them, I knew I had laid down a challenge. The air felt alive, crackling like static before a storm, with tension woven into the very fabric of our gathering. They stood on the precipice of choice, to resist or to release. I knew that tonight would mark a turning point, a chapter so crucial that even a single truth shared could rewrite our narratives forever. And in that moment, with my heart fluttering wildly against the cages of my ribs, I waited. Would they be brave enough to let the floodgates open? Would they dare to speak their truths? The room, once filled with the pleasant buzz of chatter and laughter, now felt like an impending storm. I stood in the center, hands raised, feeling the weight of my words ready to burst forth like the clouds breaking open with rain. My heart pounded in my chest, a steady beat of defiance and courage propelling me forward. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice piercing the heavy silence. "But I need to share something we have all ignored." A palpable shift hung in the air, an electric charge that whispered of time-worn secrets and suppressed truths. As I glanced around, I saw their faces, wide eyes glistening with a mix of curiosity, disbelief, and an undercurrent of fear. This was my family, my own blood, yet I felt an ocean of distance separating us. There was Uncle Mark, hunched forward, hands resting anxiously on his knees. Aunt Claire's brows knitted together, her fingers clenching at the edge of the table as if willing it to provide some kind of comfort. Aunt Lisa absently brushed a stray hair behind her ear, her gaze darting back and forth between the others, searching for validation that what I was about to say was not true. I inhaled deeply, feeling the air swell in my lungs, charged with everything I wanted to say. Did you know Uncle Mark had to drop out of college because Aunt Claire was going bankrupt? Or that Aunt Lisa lost touch with what truly matters because she was busy chasing the next big promotion? Each revelation left my lips like arrows shot in rapid succession, hitting targets I could see falter beneath the weight of the truth. The color drained from their faces. It was as if the life was being sucked out of the room, replaced by an uncomfortable silence that wrapped around us like fog. The atmosphere thickened with guilt and unease, laying bare the fractured bonds we had nurtured for years, hidden under layers of feigned smiles and empty hugs. I felt the tension coil tighter, every unspoken emotion rising to the surface. I turned my gaze towards my mother, who stood frozen at the back of the room. I could see her eyes widen, her lips parting slightly as if trapped between a gasp and a scream. I took a step closer, my hands trembling slightly but my resolve firm. Mom, your refusal to acknowledge my voice has fed into the cycles of silence and disconnection that have long plagued our family. My voice sharpened, cutting through the thick tension like a knife. You taught us to stay quiet, afraid that open communication would shatter the fragile fabric of our connections. Her reaction was instantaneous. I watched as her posture stiffened, a wave of defiance surfacing in the flicker of anger behind her eyes. But beneath that anger, I could see fear, fear of being exposed, fear of her own truth. My heart ached for her, for all of us, yet the ache was overpowered by a burning frustration that ignited the fire in my chest. Courage does not shatter, I continued, emotion rising like a tide, threatening to spill over. It builds. It helps to create something new from the ashes of our broken past. Tears sprang to my eyes as I pointed out each truth that had long remained buried. You may have thought your silence protected us, but all it did was chain us to a history filled with resentment and unfulfilled dreams. Suddenly, Aunt Claire's voice pierced through the silence like glass breaking. And what do you know about protection? She sounded defensive, but her words were stumbling, the foundation of her bravado cracked. Her gaze darted to Uncle Mark, who now appeared just as unsettled. You think airing out our dirty laundry will fix things? You think you understand the sacrifices we made? Sacrifices, or more like shackles? I shot back, a rush of adrenaline coursing through me. You want to hide behind that facade of family loyalty, but I can't accept that anymore. I have seen how your choices have hurt us. My voice trembled with frustration. Mark dropping out of college, that was devastating. And Aunt Lisa chasing the promotion at the cost of her marriage. What good is a family if we can't even be honest with one another? I paused, letting each word simmer as I took in their expressions. Confusion began to morph into comprehension, each revelation sinking in like a heavy anchor dragging down into a murky ocean. This cycle needs to end, I asserted firmly, punctuating my words with conviction. We are stuck in this web of silence that only serves to protect your self-image while throwing me and the rest of us into an ocean of conflicting emotions. Aunt Lisa finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. I didn't realize how deeply it affected you, Lily. I thought I was setting a good example by succeeding. There was a tremor of guilt in her understanding, and I caught a glimpse of the dawning clarity behind her eyes. But what if I missed the most important part of being a family? The shifting acknowledgement echoed through the room, crafting an atmosphere filled with a realization that perhaps they had all grown too comfortable in their silence. I could see the weight of reflection begin to settle onto their shoulders, creating a visible shift among them. Uncle Mark's brow furrowed as the jumbled pieces of his past came crashing into full view. I've been so concentrated on trying to be the provider that I forgot what it really means to be a family. His admission drifted through the air, the burden of truth fracturing the tension, as if he had just pulled the string of a tightly wound spool. As tears threatened to fall from my eyes, I felt a heat rushing through me, a combination of relief and hope intertwining into a single thread. I could tell they were listening now, truly listening perhaps for the first time. The chaos I had ignited reverberated around us, sparks of truth igniting in all of us like the first drops of rain during a storm, cleansing the dust-encrusted surface. Uncle Mark, I said, my voice softening as I leaned into this outpouring of honesty. You had dreams too. We all did. It's okay to speak about it. It's okay to say we made mistakes and to share the pressure. The storm of emotions was shifting now, moving away from anger to realization. The air was thick with potential, the stillness pregnant with a desire to unearth the buried wounds that had held us prisoner. Mom's eyes glistened with unshed tears, shadows of years long gone reflecting within. I've been afraid, she confessed haltingly, her voice barely a whisper. Afraid that revealing the darkness would make everything worse, not better. Her trembling hands clutched her chest as she battled her inner turmoil. But I see that silence is not a shield, it's a prison of our making. A collective sigh rippled through the room, manifesting in the way shoulders relaxed and the tension slowly dissipated. I could see the resolve forming to address a change that was long overdue. The tide of emotions shifted again, a realization that breaking free meant allowing that semblance of armor to fall away, leaving fragility in its wake. As uncertainty flickered in their eyes, I felt hope rising. "This is our chance," I said quietly, feeling the tide turning as I looked at each one of them, imploring them to continue this journey of honesty and connection. "Let's not wait for another storm to come crashing down before we begin to rebuild what's broken. Let's stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and let our truths forge a new bond out of the ruins." The storm didn't need to be destructive. It could be a cleansing, a rebirth that allowed us to truly see each other. The chaos and truths spoken today were but the beginning. This was our moment to shift from silence to vocalization, our collective effort to emerge from the shadows and embrace the complicated, messy, beautiful reality that we had all avoided for so long. The realization hung in the air, palpable, shifting from the bitterness of buried resentments to the sweet taste of newfound possibilities. I stepped back, letting my words linger as the room filled with tentative silence. I could feel the weight of the secrets we carried lifting. A storm spent, leaving clarity in its wake. The aftermath of the confrontation left our living room transformed, not just by the sheer act of yelling in despair, but by the weight of unspoken truths crackling in the air, vibrant and electric. It felt as if my family was standing on the edge of an emotional cliff, peering over the vastness below, where colorful secrets beckoned us, daring us to leap into honesty. The muffled sounds of the outside world faded as we turned inward, creating our own little sanctuary steeped in revelation. I glanced around at my aunts and uncles, their expressions swirling from fear to hope, recognition swirling in their eyes as they unexpectedly connected over their shared stories. They had always seemed so distant, like a scattered puzzle, each piece holding its own mysterious significance. This moment, however, was about to create the beginnings of a glorious picture. "I remember," one of my aunts began hesitantly, her hands trembled as they gripped the edge of the couch. "When I was a teenager, I wanted to be a painter. My parents insisted I pursue a more stable career." Her voice lowered as if she was afraid of the judgment that lay inside the words. "I studied hard, but I always felt that painting, the colors, the textures, they were calling me." "Do any of you feel that way about something?" My uncle shifted in his seat, his brow furrowed as he processed her words. "I always wanted to be an actor," he confessed, his voice cracking slightly. "But my father told me it wasn't a real job. He wanted me to follow in his footsteps, working at the factory. When I finally did act, it was in secret, and it changed me." There it was, a tiny crack starting to form in the machinations of silence that had ruled our family conversations for years. As each new revelation unfolded, the atmosphere brightened, like adding splashes of paint to that canvas of emotions. I could feel the energy in the room shifting, as if we were all getting lighter with each confession. "Anyone who has watched me cook knows that I have always hidden my culinary ambitions," another aunt chimed in, her voice emerging as gentle laughter. "But when I was younger, I would sneak off to take cooking classes. It was my escape, and let me tell you, I still dream of opening a restaurant one day, even if I never do." Laughs echoed around the room, breaking the remnants of tension as shared stories intertwined, creating a new fabric of understanding. My heart swelled with joy. Each revelation was like a delicate thread weaving us together, connecting our individual dreams and misgivings into a tapestry that whispered of hope and redemption. Even my mother, initially staunch in her beliefs and clinging to tradition like it was a lifeline, started to shed some of that rigidity. I could see her body beginning to relax, her shoulders softening ever so slightly. It was as if she realized that secrets were dragons that only grew stronger in the dark, but when brought into the light, they transformed into stories that no longer held power. "Why haven't we talked about this before?" She finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, thick with emotion. Her gaze swept the room, landing on each of us, crushing any escapable silence. "Lily, I failed to listen to you, and I see that now. I thought holding on to my beliefs kept our family strong, but instead," she trailed off, taking a moment to collect herself. "Instead, I see that it has only kept us apart. I am so sorry for not listening to you, Lily. It never occurred to me that holding on to these archaic beliefs stifled your voice. Sometimes I just did not see you." Her words were a balm, soothing deep-seated wounds I had carried for years. The flood of unexpressed feelings I had bottled up dashed against the levee of my heart, and for a moment I felt the tears swimming in my eyes. It was cathartic, it was beautiful. In that instant, I had truly come full circle. I stood amidst the family that had once felt like a prison but now filled me with a sense of belonging I had longed for. Taking a deep breath, I wiped my eyes, a newfound determination rising within me like a phoenix from the ashes. I appreciate everything that has been shared, I said, my voice steady yet warm. But I don't want my voice to just be heard, I want my wishes to be honored. Why is that too much to ask? I pulled out the piece of paper I had been holding onto tightly, my list of desires, small but filled with so much importance. This is what I want, I declared, feeling the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders, yet I felt sure of my resolve. I want to have a voice in what I receive. I want this hoodie not just as a gift, but as a symbol of connection instead of mere obligation. This hoodie represents my autonomy, who I am away from this family mantle. A sudden murmur rippled through the room, surprise mingling with recognition. They hadn't expected me to push back again. But I needed them to understand this was more than a child's desire. It was my way of reclaiming ownership over my own story. As they listened, understanding etched itself across their faces. I see it now, my uncle, the one who shared his acting dream, broke the silence. We've all been so wrapped up in our own narratives that we forgot everyone else has one too. Lily, you are right, it is vital for each of us to be heard. We owe it to each other, but most importantly, we owe it to you. I could feel the air thickening with the twinkling anticipation of something magnificent taking shape, and in that moment of clarity, the family leaned in closer, gathering together like conspirators on a noble mission. My aunts began nodding their heads, exchanging glances, and I could sense determination blossoming into action. What if we pooled together? One of my aunts proposed eagerly, her excitement contagious. If we all contribute a little bit, just think. We could buy Lily that hoodie and show her that we support her wishes. It can be a stepping stone to a better understanding among us. The glitter of renewed hope took root amid those words, a spark igniting the room as my family began to chatter, voices overlapping in accord. The past few moments of revelation became a catalyst for change, removing years of stagnant fog around our relationships. Each of my aunts and uncles started reaching into pockets and bags, pulling out crumpled dollars, coins, anything tangible to contribute to this newfound mission. My heart raced as they continued to discuss their individual contributions, each person taking ownership of the moment. I'll give 20, one uncle announced, his smile widening. I can throw in 50, another said enthusiastically. As they pooled the funds together on the coffee table, I could see their previously rigid standards bending, shaped by a newfound respect for what it meant to be part of this family, for what it meant to listen. The living room came alive with the sounds of laughter and spirited conversation, and I felt lighter than air. For the first time, I was not just Lily, the girl who had been on the outside looking in. I was now at the heart of something powerful, something indicative of real growth and transformation. As they communicated and connected through their efforts, I felt the distance that had grown between us begin to close, step by step, as if we were taking measured strides towards acceptance and understanding. Finally, when the amount was reached, smiles spread across their faces, radiating warmth that pushed away shadows of doubt. We did it, my uncle called out triumphantly, his eyes shining with newfound purpose. Lily, we just want you to know how much you mean to us. The air vibrated with joy. A tapestry of voices rose as they continued to express their support, each affirmation adding another thread to our already rich and intricate family story. I could finally see the transformation in everyone around me, their smiles illuminating the room we had once shared in silence. Thank you, I managed to say, my throat tight with emotion as I accepted the feelings of love circling around and enveloping me like a warm hug. I never expected my simple wish for a hoodie to spark such a cathartic wave of honesty, but now it felt monumental. As the evening continued, our conversation flowed freely, marking the beginning of a new chapter, one where authenticity could reign, guiding us toward healing and empathy within our family. I sensed that the fabric of who we were had shifted, woven anew with threads of compassion and understanding. I wasn't just reclaiming a piece of clothing, but a space in a family history that felt whole for the first time in forever. And so, as the colors of the evening deepened, casting a warm glow over our gathering, I could finally feel it. I was home. My 18th year unfolded into something entirely unexpected, a celebration that marked not just the passage of another year, but a glorious rebirth of genuine familial connections. As they handed me the coveted hoodie, I felt my heart leap in my chest. It was not merely the fabric I was receiving, but the sincerity stitched into each thread, a profound reminder of the power of honesty in family. The air was thick with joy and warmth, punctuated by the laughter that erupted like music, notes of relief, celebration, and newfound hope swirling around us like confetti. Each chuckle, each heartfelt story shared became a thread binding us closer together, weaving an intricate tapestry of shared experiences that had long been neglected. "You really like it, don't you?" my brother asked, his voice filled with that rich tone of amusement. He beamed at me, bouncing on his heels as if he were a little boy again, excited to see if I appreciated this small yet meaningful gesture. "I love it," I exclaimed, pulling the hoodie over my head and slipping my arms into the sleeves. The material felt soft against my skin, almost like a warm embrace. "Thank you, everyone. This means so much to me." I looked around the room at their beaming faces, each smile lighting up my heart, nurturing a flame of hope that had long been extinguished by years of silence and unspoken words. My mother stepped forward, her cheeks flushed from the happiness radiating in the room, and her eyes glistening as if they were tiny windows revealing the depth of her emotions. "You know, this birthday marks the beginning of something new for us, sweetheart. I think we have all been hiding, pretending everything was fine when it clearly was not." Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth but also lightened by an air of transformation. "What do you mean hiding?" I asked, curiosity bubbling up inside me. I felt a stirring in my gut, an acknowledgement of the old family dynamics that had suffocated us for too long. I leaned into the moment, wanting to hear more, wanting to peel back the layers of fears we had been carrying. "Lily," my father began, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability that made me lean in closer. "We buried a lot of things, arguments, disappointments, and misunderstandings. I guess we thought that pretending would make all that go away. But it never did it?" My voice wavered slightly as I held on to the fabric of my hoodie, feeling the warmth envelop me. "I mean, look at us. We were like strangers living under the same roof." My mother nodded, her hand reaching out to find my father's. Their fingers entwined, reminding me of how they used to be, of the love that initially blossomed between them before life took a toll on their intimacy. "It is time for us to be brave and open up about our past, the moments that haunt us, the memories that shaped us. We need to share them. We need to be honest with each other if we are going to create the family we deserve to be." I could feel hesitation in the room. Would we be able to strip away the facades that had masked our true selves for so long? My heart raced with a mix of excitement and terror. I wanted to dive deep into these new waters of vulnerability, yet feared the splash of memories that might rise to the surface, threatening to drown us in an ocean of regrets and sorrow. "Look, how about we take turns sharing something about ourselves?" my brother suggested, breaking the silence. "Something we've never spoken about or something that lingered in our hearts." "That's a great idea," my mother exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. "I can start. I remember the summer I was 15, how I thought I would never measure up to your grandmother's expectations. I was so scared of disappointing her that I hid my poetry from everyone. This is something I wish I could have shared before during our family gatherings. It could have helped you see her with more kindness, with a bit of humor. Now more than ever, I believe honesty can heal." As she spoke, I could picture her teenage self, shy and trembling before an unyielding figure. "I wish I had known that then," I said. "You always felt like you had it all figured out. But hearing this, it makes me realize you were, after all, just human. I admired you for that, for being strong all the time. Yet here you are, revealing your fears." My father followed suit, taking a deep breath before launching into memories of his childhood in a small town, filled with insecurity and the pressure to be perfect. He spoke of the bullying he endured and how it shaped his perception of masculinity. "I always feared being the failure everyone expected me to be. That fear has made me strict and distant, afraid that if I showed any weakness it would somehow break our family apart. And yet it did that anyway," I murmured. I instantly regretted my words, looking for a pause to take them back, but he nodded slowly as though finally understanding the roots of our dysfunction. "Lily, thank you for saying that. I need to change, we all do." His voice trembled with an emotion I had never heard from him before, and I felt tears prick my eyes as he opened his soul. Then it was my brother's turn. He spoke of the isolation he often felt, of wearing masks of humor to hide the loneliness he faced. The way he described it resonated deeply within me, amplifying the longing I had to connect. I realized how much we had all suffered alone, without the strength of our bond to carry us through. Yet here we were, sharing our truths, inching toward healing together. Once we reached a reflective silence, sides of laughter creeping in from time to time, a sense of reconciliation settled over us like a warm quilt. As I looked around, I saw my family as they truly were, imperfect beings, riddled with past mistakes yet united now by open hearts. "I want this to continue," my mother said firmly. "We should have a weekly night together where we can share, laugh, cry, or even sit in silence if we need to. This has shown us that we cannot keep pretending everything is okay." "I agree," I said. "I want us to be open. Sharing stories shouldn't just be confined to birthdays or holidays. We need to show up for each other every day. Even the small things matter, they matter so much." As the laughter flowed throughout the evening, each story unlocked a deeper, more profound connection that infused the room with an electric energy. Each spoken word felt like a small celebration, echoing the laughter of a family reborn. Later that night, after everyone had left and the decorations were packed away, I looked down at the hoodie I wore. It was more than just a piece of clothing. It had transformed into a symbol of our shared commitment to honesty and openness. I could feel my fingers tracing the stitched letters, reminding me of the strength we had found in our vulnerability. This day could have passed like countless birthdays before, lost amid a sea of superficial gatherings. Yet somehow, each moment, each exchange story morphed our family into something far more robust, paving the way to healing. I closed my eyes, letting the nostalgia of the evening wash over me like a gentle wave, and made a silent pledge to hold on to this moment, to nurture these connections as if they were flowers in a garden. As I drifted into sleep, I envisioned a clear path stretching into the future, clear and free from the burdens of silence and unresolved pasts. My 18th birthday had ignited something bright and promising within us all, a light that danced joyfully across time, whispering that we could choose to be real with one another. I realized that this journey we began was just the first stepping stone on a long, beautiful path toward a deeper love. The resilience we found would resonate in every moment we shared as a family, reminding us to embrace honesty now and always. Together, we would ensure the weight of liars and silence never shadowed our family again. This was my newfound truth, a beacon shining brightly in the dark, a promise that forever changed everything.